Good morning. I think for me personally, there's no other place I could be on this particular day, or frankly, on any other day than here. Because what we are doing today is shaping not just the future, but the current of our country. And as we come here today to launch the report on adolescent health, nutrition and support systems, and most importantly, the national strategy for the reduction of adolescent pregnancy and ending child marriage 2025 to 2030, we're here to make collective commitments to nurture and protect our next generation. Everybody knows these facts. The median age of our population is 19. The median age of people who die from pregnancies is 19. Those two things cannot and should not be true. And for that to change, we as a people, we as a government, must take active steps to make sure that these numbers and these statistics do not continue. So we have a critical role in national development, and they must start with reaffirming commitments today, because we have been working and we will speak to some of the work that we've been doing, but we're here today to reaffirm and make new commitments. So before my talk, we will all participate and make those commitments for ourselves as individuals, but for the institutions and the people we represent. We know that our country is full of young people, and this is why we must equip them with the right skills, the services in socioeconomic services, and the communities that are essential in making sure that they reach their fullest potential. We must embrace. When we heard the head of the institution speak, they spoke about potential. Human capital is about potential. And for us to unlock their individual and our collective potentials, we must ensure that they reach where they need to be. And early marriage, teenage pregnancy cannot be a stop to them reaching their highest potential. And we do these things through many approaches: sexual and reproductive health services and engagement, mental health, psychosocial support programs, education. These are all things that we can do to support our human capital development framework, which is called for His Excellency. The President in 2018 to 2023 had a national development plan called Education for Development. It's centered on human capital development. In our new Big Five strategy, we are also focused on human capital development, which is one of our Big Five priority areas. At the core of that, we understand that we must do it inclusively, and it must have everyone. Now, we have seen over the last couple of years, including just recently, that the President signed the Prohibition Against Child Marriage Act. We have worked on improving the Sexual Offences Act in 2019, and we're constantly engaging on that. We have seen the Gender Equality and Women's Progressive Act, which reinforces our vision that we must safeguard and protect our girls and our women. These policies that I went through are what they call progressive policies. They don't just happen by chance. And if we think politics doesn't matter and it's not part of government, my role as a politician and as a leader is to remind people that we need progressive leaders. Progressive as a framework of thinking is why we can say 30% of our women should go to parliament and in ministries, and we do it. Progressive is why we can say, even though we know that our tradition historically has allowed child marriage and early marriage, that we must say no. Progressive is when we can say the Child Rights Act is important for moving and saving our children. Progressive is when we can say our women and our girls need access to safe termination of pregnancies in life-threatening moments for themselves. That is not a position of culture or tradition. It's a position of life. And it's okay for leaders to be progressive enough to stand and speak to these matters. Because you know what? Matakap and Creole, we begin then they do my business. I can say that, you can say that, you know that, because the majority of them get pregnant and die at 19. How then they die if they don't do my business? Do we believe that our children are, how then they want? How then they get there? Where we read the data say we begin then the access post abortion services, how then they want? Progressiveness is a responsibility to ourselves and our children and the future of our children that we must speak to, stand to, understand the traditions and the limitations of those traditions, work within our cultures and our traditions and our religions to make sure it works to protect those children themselves. So we're here today to continue on our progressive agenda. And if people choose to not be progressive, not put them near power. Not put them there. Because now you set people suffer. Because if you begin to get access to quality education, if you work and you begin where you're born, they die. Wait till you put that person near power. What we are seeing today is a consistent, systematic, committed set of actions that this government has been doing to protect our children, our wives, our mothers, and our boys. So at the heart of our work is the belief that good health, quality nutrition, and the safeguarding of young people's rights are instruments of hope, justice, and development. And for some of us, it's called radical inclusion. It's a law in this country, by the way. The Education Act 2023, it's very explicit about radical inclusion. If you look at all of those principles that was listed there, participation, diversity, equity, these are fundamental for how we will work together to end child marriage, adolescent pregnancy, and provide adolescent-friendly healthcare services for our children. Look, the evidence is clear. Our children, 10 to 19, as I mentioned, form the backbone of our development. Historically, and we saw from the perception, then they take us them about them picking them the I do, they don't let themselves that bad no more than they do. It not be true, we don't saw them kind big people the way they are. We supposed to be picking them, that bad when they do, when they mistake. But that bad when they do, we not be bad more time there. If we imagine a future of people who are sitting here, if we imagine the future of leaders, the perception that young people are bad no more than they do has to change. And it doesn't change by sitting and imagining and willing it. It changes from the actions and commitments we do. That's why we're here. That's why I feel like today is one of the most important days for our country. We're here to commit to end child marriage and to reduce adolescent pregnancy because it casts negative shadows on our development. It deprives our girls of quality education, good health, and the freedom to thrive and reach their fullest potential. As the government, we have pledged to never allow poverty, customs, systems, traditions, infrastructure, legislation that was built in 1961, 1911, 18, whatever. We're not even getting independence. We are committing that we rewrite our future. Not the people in colonial times, before we people that they get rights to be on the table. Not to that day. We they rewrite the future. And it means we as a people must step to recognize good governance, justice, and inclusion as core principles for national development. That is what's in our medium-term national development plan. We said we will expand access to healthcare. We wish the people who are thinking about the safe motherhood, the people who are driving that, the safe motherhood and reproductive health bill, that they can look at their children, their girl children, their children in their eyes, and make a commitment to save them. Just as we have, and just as we did, when we stood up and said that we want to prohibit child marriage. Just as we have, just as we did, when we developed the Child Rights Act, which is still in the process. We hope you can look at our children, your grandchildren, and make a commitment to them. And we must do so by strengthening the legislative environment in which we find ourselves, and ensure that we can protect our children, our women and girls by offering them clear pathways to education, healthcare, and economic opportunity. These reforms will continue to highlight our unwavering commitment to building a nation where children and adolescents, no matter who they are, no matter where they come from, no matter their religion, no matter their parents' tribes, no matter their physical or cognitive disabilities, no matter their seen or unseen disabilities, where every child can reach their fullest potential. Now, strategies work. Often they will say, oh, we can't meet here, we'll just talk. It's not true. If you listen to the presentations, and that's why I wanted to speak right after the presentations, strategies work. Between 2013 and 2018, we saw that the strategy for the reduction of teenage pregnancy worked. We reduced it from about 28% to 21%. Not good enough, not quick enough, but it did reduce. Strategies work. Between 2018 and 2022, the adolescent pregnancy and child marriage strategy focus saw that we reduced early marriage from 48 to 30%. Strategies work because we've seen the First Lady, through her Hands Up Our Girls campaign and through her work on focus on ending early marriage, we see the impact across the country. Strategies work. So fellow citizens, our development partners, our adolescents who are in the room, we look to you for leadership. We look to all of us for guidance and the protection of our children. And maybe I'm passionate about this because my pikin are 6 years old and are 9 years old. Now God pikin they are get. And I hope we all get pikin them when our God pikin them. They're not just grab them reach as adults. And if you don't get pikin, your sister get pikin. It is important that we don't just leave this to government. It is all of our collective endeavors and mission to ensure that as parents, as religious leaders, as community leaders, as civil society, international development partners, these are our commitments to action. So we therefore must work to continue to implement this strategy so that our girls can remain in school free from the burden of early marriage and unplanned pregnancy. And we must advocate for the policies and regulations that protect our children. We must work to enforce them. May they not come big you. May they not forbid you. Because like the king future, now you work tomorrow. May poor not make you take you become girl to man when you're 15 years old. Because when you die, that 1 million, 2 million, that car will give you, you go don't eat time. Now hungry, now you go you take die. Because I picking the night and pension, now you don't can give you benefits. And I can say this every now and then. That you pension we get today, 1 million, 2 million, however many. You know they compare, so you picking salary where you get way landing. That you pension no will compare to landing. So it is in your own interest. Well, I'm a parent too. It is in our interest, selfish interest as parents, for make me we picking the big pass week. For make me we picking the land book and get you walk the pass week. Because that picking there, it will still put for you. Now it will take care of you. Your pension will take care of you. So we must ensure that we work to enforce the laws. Now, before I conclude, I want to say something. And I'm not saying it because, well, I'm going to embarrass her. I am going to ask you to come forward so that I can embarrass you a little bit. I'll tell you, they usually say do not judge a book by the cover. So two things. Do you go to Ephesus? Yes. Is that why you put that? I'm a Christian. They say do not judge a book by their cover. But we will judge this book by its cover. It's an absolutely beautiful book. But what I was going to say, it is that this strategy is the most beautiful, most complete, most excellent strategy I have ever seen. If you look through it, often I'm in cabinet, I see strategies come, and my colleagues are here, and I say, what's in the M&E? This, if you look the M&E, you say, ask the who's side, now that you go higher for the M&E for you. Now I don't want for myself. If you look at the costing and the commitment, I tell you, it is, I will tell my colleagues and everybody that anybody who wants to do strategy, they can to you. So we are It is the absolutely most beautiful document I have seen in a long time. And I say this with all due respect to my people in the Ministry of Education, because I was in the Ministry of Education myself. But it is a strategy that includes ministries of health, ministries of gender and children, social welfare, basic, youth, local government, and you see our representation here. This is what governance should be about sharing our work, about collaborating, about showing up, and most importantly, implementing these. So today, as we're here to launch this national strategy for the reduction of adolescent pregnancy and ending child marriage 2025 to 2030, and the report on adolescent health, nutrition, and support systems, I want these documents to serve not just as beautiful things that we put on our cabinet, but as guiding frameworks with which we can hold each other accountable, inspiring us all to champion the rights and well-being of our adolescents, because this is how we forge Sierra Leone's national development when every young person can reach their fullest potential. We are progressive, we are radicals, and we will work for a more just society. So now is the time when we're going to make commitments. For those who are Catholics, they usually say responsorial psalm and then you respond. So I'm going to tell you what your response is going to be to the commitments and objectives that our people have told us. When I don't have to tell you respond, when I finish speaking, you say, together we will deliver. When I practice that, they say, together we will deliver. When I do this, then you say it, yeah? Okay. Together we will deliver. Now let it talk. All man need for the one. Together we will deliver. By 2030, we commit to reduce adolescent pregnancy from 21% in 2020 to 10%. Together we will deliver. By 2030, we commit to eliminate child marriage. Together we will deliver. Now, when we work together in a truly inclusive and transparent way, when we work together holding each other accountable, together we will deliver. with that, I will launch these two documents, the Adolescent Health and Nutrition and Support Systems Report and the National Strategy for the Reduction of Adolescent Pregnancy and Ending Child Marriage on behalf of His Excellency and the government of Sierra Leone, because we know together we will. Thank you.